Congress in Mathematical Education. He has published books such as Introduction to Measure and Integration, published by the American Mathematical Society, and books like From Numbers to Analysis, published by the World Scientific Press. He has developed web-based courses on calculus and linear algebra, which I know and have heard are very, very popular. He has been conferred with several awards for excellence in teaching. He has organized several training programs for school and undergraduate students. He regularly organizes professional development and technology orientation programs for secondary level mathematics teachers. In fact, a series of workshops titled Making Mathematics Meaningful is extremely popular and has touched many teachers as well as students across the country. He is the founder of a national conference which everybody knows about by now, TIME Time, which is a Technology and Innovation in Mathematics Education, which is held once in every 2 years and has been taking place since 2005, which brings together eminent mathematicians, mathematics educators, teachers, and math enthusiasts from all across the country. Recently, Sir has also convened the International GeoGebra Conference of India 2021, which was just held last week, and it was held in online mode. So he's an extensive and wonderful biodata, but that is not his only way to introduce him. I would just like to say that there are very few people who can really connect with all levels, be it at school level, be it at the college level, at the university level, or even at the research level. And we are very, very happy to have you, sir. And thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to be with us. So over to you, sir, Professor Rana. Thank you.
Thank you, Janaki, for a very elaborated introduction of mine, which was, you said is not required, but you made it quite elaborate. Thank you very much. Let me just one correction in the biodata that I am no longer even emeritus fellow at IIT Bombay because I have passed that stage of age criteria kind of a thing, and so I am a freelancer now, like everybody who does after certain age. But I enjoy being interacting with the students, teachers, and I thank Janaki and the organizers for roping me in for this interaction. So can I share my screen now?
Yes, sir, please do.
Nikita, you are recording or is it Ankita?
Ma'am, it's Nikita who's recording.
I think what I will do is I will stop sharing my video anyway, because it can cause more bandwidth problem probably. And as long as you are able to see my screen and hear me, that should be good enough.
I said I could make my video off and you could keep yours on, I think.
I think my face is not that attractive. Everybody would like to have a look at it continuously. So I will stop sharing my video.
Sure, sure. Whatever is convenient.
Yeah, and I will share my screen. So I welcome you all to this session, which I call it as 2D to 3D. And it's very nice to see many known names in the attendees list. I am honored by their presence, and I hope it will be worthwhile going through my presentation. Mathematically, the content of my presentation may be of the level of maybe 6th to 8th grade or 9th grade. So don't be disappointed if you find not much of mathematics in it of your level. But I find mathematics of school level very interesting and very challenging how to communicate. So let me start with my what I want to say. There is a opening disclosure which says that is a voluntary disclosure about the presentation. This presentation is based on the activities actually done in classrooms between 2015 and 2020 at various schools. You are free to replicate them at your own discretion. And here is what motivates me to start this presentation is a small video which I came across in Bombay once, and I thought I can use it for this presentation. So please bear with me and have a look at this. So this is a small clip. I would like participants to write something in their chat box to answer this question. Is there some mathematics in the clips? So please write in the chat box what you think is interesting or.
So people are saying, sir, that yes, volume, and there's a lot of mathematics.
Oh, there is a lot of mathematics. Okay.
The
So,
shapes of the paper container. These are the
very good.
responses.
Good.
Cone
So
capacity. Yeah.
actually, I found these clips more interesting because of the stuff being sold. Yeah, but the idea was not that anyway. And some of the participants have gotten the idea. I'm going to look at some of the packing material in which the vendor is selling. There are two kind of things. But before we start, anyway, let me just caution you about the event. In a math class, just listening and not working along is harmful in learning. It can cause math phobia. You have the popular statutory warnings on some packets. So it's on those lines anyway. So as observed, I would now ask you to write down somewhere in your notebook objects around us. List 5 objects that you see around you that can be used for holding, sorting, storing, and packing. So you can just list any 5, which may you actually see it now, or you may be virtually remembering that you have seen those things. It doesn't matter. So once you have done that, I will just go ahead because this is just an observation. So, so this is what I would like you to all do. So make if you have a notebook with you, that's good. You can name the object here in the first column, and then go ahead. What are the characteristics? It has length, breadth, height. Does it have an area? Does it have a volume? Yes, no, and such things. So just try to fill up this. Let me just get my highlighter. Yes. Okay. So fill up. The basic idea of this kind of exercise is when you do it in the classroom, it is reminding the learners which are of 6th to 8th grade that not every object has all the characteristics. Okay. For example, they may come across something like that packing material like a cone, which may not have that characteristics as listed here. So they would like to say some other things about it, probably. So every object which is used for packing is described by various characteristics. So I'll just go ahead. This was just to indicate how this content can be processed in a classroom digitally or physically present classroom. So let me go ahead a bit. So you saw a paper envelope being used for packing those bhelpuri in the. I'm going to show you a small clip how to make a paper box from a sheet of paper, square sheet of paper. Is what we call origami, and do a lot of origami in our childhood. So to make mathematics classroom a bit of fun, interesting, I'm going to do this. I will show you the video, and if all of you have a piece of paper, square piece of paper, you can try to make it along. I'm told Janaki has sent this video to all the participants, and they have tried making this. So please try to follow, and if you want, I will stop at some stage and help you to make it.
Sir, actually, there were 10 people about who had posted the pictures of their boxes on the
Okay.
WhatsApp group. Should I share them with you, sir? One or two of them, or some of them?
What we'll do is, if others would like to try it to make
Yes,
it who have not tried earlier,
exactly. Yes.
and
Sure.
then we'll have a look at those who have already made it.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, so that those who are not tried probably can try their hand,
Absolutely. Yeah.
revive their childhood memories.
Yes. And
Yeah,
they can also unmute the video and show also if they want, one by one.
yeah. So this is making the paper box using origami. The beauty of origami is we don't normally cut anything. We don't paste anything. It is just folding and bending and doing something with the paper piece so that you construct a 3D object from a 2D object, basically. That is the idea. So let me start. So take a square piece of paper and fold it along the diagonals. And then also make horizontal and vertical folds. So this is a stage you should be able to reach by folding the corners in. You should be able to get a square piece of paper again with the corners being folded at the center. So let me fold the edges to the center or from both sides. So this is what your piece of paper should look like after all the folds. This will give you two walls of the box. So I hope some of you have tried for the first time this kind of activity, making a box. And Jonaki would like to show us some of the efforts by the teachers who already done it. So let us have a look at that.
Sir, what I was saying is that maybe teachers can just switch on their video and show one or two
Yeah.
people.
I have to stop. Do I have to stop?
No, sir.
Okay, fine.
Will it be visible like when somebody, yes, somebody is showing?
Yes. There's a Shanti piece, right? Shanti Aizer, Pune.
Yes.
Okay,
Hi,
good.
Shanti.
Not only she has made a box, she has made the cover also as a gift box.
And I can see
Vandana, no, Vamishta, Aradhana, yes, Pallavi, and so I think many are able to make it this box. So this is the kind of activity which sort of will bring some enthusiasm among the students and a fun. And if it is in an actual classroom, there will be a lot of hustle and bustle, and that will be very interesting to observe. So let us get over with it, the box, to those who have made it, and let us get some mathematics out of it now. That is our aim and objective. So let us go ahead. So what I am going to do is, so this is, I think there is no need to go through these instructions one by one in the slide. Fold, so fold it corners inside. Once you've done it, fold it along the edges and then open it out. This is what you will get. And when you open it, so this is what this side you have to fold it. So these are the two walls, and the other wall will come from here and other will come from here. So this is what you do. So this is the kind of the pinching or the making the two corners meet so that this side comes up and makes a wall. So this is the box finally you get. So let us come to mathematics now, and I hope you are able to do the next activity. Namely, after construction, we like to calculate the surface area of the box and its volume. Compute the percentage of paper wasted, and if possible, find a relation between the surface area and the volume. So this requires a piece of paper and a pencil. And I don't know whether you have a measuring tape along handy with you. If some of you have it and can do it, that will be nice. Let us take 2-3 minutes or 5 minutes. So what we want to do is the paper you started with, find out its surface area, the area of that paper sheet. And the box you had made has got a base and a height. So for me, the piece of paper which I had was having 21 cross 21 centimeters. That is the square piece of paper. And this is the areas of the faces of open box, and this is the volume of the box. So if you can just complete this. So this is actual giving an actual kind of measurement practice to the students how to measure using a tool. And then this is I am more interested in this part. The compute the percentage of the paper wasted. The original paper had some area, and the box now has some area, but because of the folds, there is a lot of overlapping of paper, so paper is wasted in some sense. So we'd like to find out how much is the paper wasted. So original area minus the area of the surface area of the box. When you divide, you get the ratio of the two and find the percentage. For me, this comes out to be, hope that my calculations are okay. It comes out to be 39.06. You can write your percentage in the box in the chat box. And as soon as Jonathan thinks there are at least 3 people who have written something, we'll
Right.
go. Any response till now?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. But at least can we have a poll that there is paper wasted in folding?
Please respond, participants.
Yes or no at least?
Do you think the paper has been wasted? Yeah. Yes. Lot of yeses coming up. I think
Yeah.
people are still calculating.
Yeah, calculation takes time. So, once we are not in that level, that means grades 6 to 8, our calculations tend to be slightly slower of these kind of things. So anyway, so let me go ahead.
Yeah.
As long as the participants feel that there is paper wasted in origami, because to strengthen the box, we have to reinforce so many things. So from the economics point of view, this is not a very good idea. So how we can make a box without wastage? So the key to that lies in unfolding the actual box. So let me show you a clip where we are going to unfolding. So this unfolding is from 3D, I'm going back to 2D. Right. So let us look at we have cut along the edges of an actual box. For example, given this box, we have cut this open box, there is no top. So we have cut along this, along the various edges. Actually, in this video, there is a top also blue, which is shown here. So this is the blue one is the top. Otherwise, you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 sides of the box. So this is what we call as the 2D representation of the cube, and it is called a net of the cube. The net is a 2D object, and once we fold along certain portions, we get the 3D object. So this is unfolding. So in this, what is happening is, if we have this piece of paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 pieces, and if I bend it along this line, bend it along this line, bend it along this line, and bend it along this line, I will get back my box. So from a piece of paper which is cut like a plus sign, I can make the box back. Maybe I can just play the video backward, so to show you that this is how it can be done. So flip back. Flip back. green one, flip back, and you that is the top, then you can flip again. So this is what is called the net of a cube. That means it is a piece of two-dimensional thing where 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 square are joined by the edges, and you can fold them to get a box again. And in this, now you will get a box. Of course, it will not be very strong because when you fold back, they are not joined. So let us not go into those things like whether it's strong enough or not. But this is the best way of making a paper box without any wastage. So this is another way of making a paper box from a 2D object that is called the net of a cube. So you can fold this up, fold this on the side, fold this on the side, and fold this on the side. You'll get this box. So let me bring in justify the title of the series of webinars, technology. So here is till now we have been using only video technology and our mind. Now here is a piece of GeoGebra which can help you to visualize these kind of things. So here is, let us cut and open. You see that is what you will get. So here, this is a GeoGebra applet. I have not made it. I have just downloaded it from the GeoGebra org. I loved this applet, and I had seen it long back, and whenever I see something nice, I preserve it, that I will enjoy it later on, and now it is coming handy. So when I cut this, see, this tells you that given this cube, if you cut it along AB, the edge AB, here is the edge AB, here is the edge AE, you cut it along the edge AE, and cut it along AE, AAF. So here is, where is A and, no, EF, sorry. EF, you cut it along EF, cut it along BC, cut it along this. You will get, now earlier you got 5 pieces joined together. Now it is not those, because this is a closed box, so you'll get 6 pieces. So this is the shape of some kind of a Z, the English letter Z. So you can close it back. For example, you can, I'm just unticking AE. I don't want to cut AE, and see what kind of a, so this is the kind of net you will get if you cut only these, cut along these edges. So different cuttings of a box, different edges will give you a net. Okay. So I'll give you this applet to practice soon, but for the time being, let me go ahead. And so the idea is, how do you go from 3D to 2D so that you are able to make an object without any wastage. So this is the idea of a net. And the example that just now I showed you says for a cube 3D object, at least I showed you 2 different nets, right? So here is, sorry, here is another one, which is GeoGebra again. And so this is, I think this one is by Tim Brzezinski, who is a very well prolific, competent author of GeoGebra applets. Many of you already probably know him, and he is in the friend list of yours, probably. So this is the one made by him. I just borrowed. You see, you can just lift, making the box. Okay. So we'll come to the problem that we want to discuss using this soon. So this is without wastage. So here is, this is what I would like you to do. If you open the box, can you get, see, earlier when you opened the box, you got a central piece of square and four squares on the attached to the sides. Is it possible to cut open a box so that you get the following shapes of 2D? So this is what I would like you to experiment. And for that, let me, if you are on a device which is a laptop or a desktop or even your mobile, please go to this website, www.geogebra.org classroom, and be careful of entering these kind of things. So once you do that, it will take you to a GeoGebra classroom, which we have created for this particular session. So let us go there and see what we want to do. So please, in your web browser, enter this address. Junaki, is it possible for me to enter it in the chat box? I don't see the chat box. Yeah, I think here is the chat box. Send a message. So let me copy and paste. Oh, it's already okay. So some of you have already joined the class. So here is the website, www.geogebra.org.classroom, and please join that GeoGebra classroom. So you'll be joining as a student. Once you do that, you are presented with a task. You are presented with this applet that I just now showed you, and then you can try to manipulate the applet and try to see whether you are able to answer the questions that are asked there. So I'll, if you have any doubt to ask, please put it in the chat box so that we can answer and help you to interact. Already Lalita's, then Srinivasan, Sujata, Shailini, Anishka, Mansi, Brinda, and some student has joined. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 have already joined. Oh, there are more here. Anyway. And this is a piece of technology entering into the virtual classroom. At geogebra.org, you can create a virtual classroom, and you can bring in a pre-made material that you have already made for your class and ask students to join the classroom there. So ask the students to join and start working on.
Sir, when we open the link, it says that the class is paused.
I have unpaused it now. So if you see my screen, earlier it was, I've unpaused it, it should be working now.
Yes, we can see it. We can work it. We can work on it. Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
It was paused because I had done it before I started the session. So I unpaused. Yes. For example, Srinivasan has already started working. Lalita has started working on it. Probably let me, Sneha has already started working. If you don't know what to do, then please ask, then we can explain. Mukta is working. So here is, so you can see these blue things coming up. That means these students in the classroom are already started working. And if you have any issue with the what to do, I hope that Applet explains everything. This is the one which I have already used to do it. So let me show you some aspect of technology, the GeoGebra. And here is that 7 students have already completed the task 1. And here are some student answers. That A is answered by these students, B is answered by these, and C is answered by this. And D is answered by 1 Mansi. So the question was whether which shapes are possible by cutting and opening, which are the shapes that you can get. The statistics should not motivate somebody to change your options. I don't know what happened to students' views. Okay. Yeah, this was that thing. Anyway, yeah, here are the right. For example, I can see what has been done by Srinivasan. I can see he's working. He is nicely playing with the applet. I can look at, for example, Sujata's work. All like to animate things, and let us see what is about the task 1 and what about the task 2. Those answers, I don't know, I don't see that answers. Probably I have not done my homework very nicely. I should be able to see students' answers somewhere. Task 1, student answers. Okay, anyway. So here are the student answers. So let me come back to my presentation.
So one thing people were saying that the shapes were not numbered. So which is shape?
Yeah, I realized it after I actually made it today morning only.
Right.
I thought I should give something hands-on feeling to everybody.
Right.
But the answer, when you look at the answer, it doesn't matter whether it is 1, 2, or 3. So let me say the answer is independent of the numbering of the shapes. So it should be the correct answer.
Oh.
So it should be D. Then none of them is possible actually. Yeah. So let me come back to. Shall I come? Anybody has a question on this GeoGebra classroom? If anybody has, then probably we can discuss. Otherwise, come back.
Good evening, sir.
Yep.
Sir, how could you make us work along with you? How was it working?
How did I do this GeoGebra classroom? That is what you're asking?
No, GeoGebra classroom. Okay, GeoGebra with the classroom, because you could see whatever we were doing.
Right.
How was it working?
No, see, this is, I think, at present, this is, I don't know whether that is possible or not, that the student screen is visible, at present, student screen is visible to the teacher. Whether teacher's screen is visible to the student or not, that is the only possibility is I share my Zoom screen with you, right? So students look at my Zoom screen and I show them do this, and then they do it in their working probably. So side by side, they have to open 2 things and do it. That is one possibility way of doing it. Is that what your question was?
Sir, I
How
think
can-
he was asking how does the GeoGebra classroom work? But that then you need to go through the steps of how to create a classroom. I think that's what she
Yeah,
meant.
and it is a learning management system. It works
Yeah.
like a learning management system wherein you log in as a teacher or educator and
Yeah.
you have students and you have access to see what the students are doing. So you have to log in that way.
So I think we probably at some stage, as and when we did the GeoGebra workshops, in which
Yeah.
GeoGebra classroom was also one of the parts in the advanced things. I think you missed. Those who missed probably will next round of. We had 10 GeoGebra workshops, by the way, in just from 11th to 13th of March. Before that, first week of March, 9 different Indian languages we had these workshops where this was done. So this is the place which should make a spark in you that you want to learn GeoGebra classroom. And I think YouTube has a good number of videos available on that. So let me close with that. And probably you can send a mail to me, or lot of Srinivasan is there, M. Srinivasan is there. I think a lot of GeoGebra experts are there in this session. All those who have been part of GeoGebra conference are experts and they can give back. So, or send a mail to me, I will send you a list of experts who can help you to learn that. Okay, so let us go back to, so this is one piece of technology that can help, and this has helped us in saying that when you cut an open, you can't get all the shapes. So whenever you cut an open and you get one shape, that is called a polyomino. That one piece of paper, 2D object that you get, right, where edges are joined together, that is called a polyomino. And because we have got 5 pieces, so this is what is called a pentomino. So that piece of a net of an open sphere is a pentomino. But not, we could not construct nets, some shapes we couldn't construct. So those are the pentominos which cannot be the nets of a box. So the problem of how many pentominos you can construct with 5, and what are the nets, how many of them are nets. So for example, these are the 5 pieces of squares. If you join, this is one joined along the edges shapes that you can get. There are 12 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So these are all shapes of 5 squares joined together at the edges, but all of them are not nets for squares. So the ones that you are not able to construct, those pentominos are not nets for squares. So this is a separate topic. One can have a activity based on these things itself. So let me come back to the thing I want to do. So what I want to do is, given a square sheet of paper of side A units, let us construct a box without the lid. So open box, we constructed an open box. So now we use the formula for the volume of that open box. This is the volume of the open box. So x, when you fold, x is the height, right? That is if you cut a square from the corner of side x, and when you fold it, that will give you the height of that box. So height is, if side is a, so a minus 2x. Here is a typo, it should have been 2x. So a minus 2x, right hand side is okay. So a minus 2x square. So that is the volume of this. So the question now we want to ask, we want to do some mathematics with it. So the question is, volume can be, so what is the maximum volume that you can, what is the maximum volume that can a open box of side x can have if the side A of the sheet to start with is fixed. So that is, I hope my question is clear. You are given a sheet paper sheet of side A, a side X, square corners are cut and folded to give a box. That box has this volume. What should be the value of X so that the box has maximum volume? So that is the question we want to pose. And so let me everybody think about this question, and we'll try to answer this question soon. So is the question clear to everybody? I hope it is clear to everybody. There is nothing much to say. Janaki, if anybody is asking this question, that
Sure.
yeah. So I think question is quite clear. We're making an open box from a square sheet of paper by cutting 4 small squares from the corners and folding up. So the question is, what is the maximum volume that we can have with that box? What should be the value of X? So this question can be answered in many different ways. So this is where, as a teacher, our teaching learning should come into picture. How do you get started answering this question? So let everybody think of working out a solution. Then we'll discuss these various ways of solving this problem. So can everybody have a look at their paper and pencil notebook? So let me go back. The picture, if it helps, we want to make the maximum volume to be the maximum. I'm not giving you it as a test to solve the problem. I'm giving it to you as a puzzle. You can think it as and possible ways of solving it. How will you think of solving it? How do you start solving it? How do you think of solving it? What is the process, thinking process that should go into it?
Any responses can be typed in the chat box. Someone is saying, what about 20 minus 2x? Somebody saying, trying with different values of x.
Yeah, we want a value of X, okay, possible value of X, which can give us maximum volume.
So, Farzana says differentiate, use calculus.
Yeah, I think that is the easiest way out for almost everybody who is. That's why this problem is more interesting for 6th to 8th grade knowledge only, because they will not think of calculus. There's nothing wrong. That shows the importance of calculus in our teaching and learning process. Yeah, so okay, anyway, by calculus, what is the answer people have gotten? Whichever method you use, so let us have one point to start our discussion. Yeah. Okay, Janaki, shall I go ahead? Any response in the chat box? I can't see the chat box, so that's why.
Sir, actually, people are substituting different values of
Okay.
x and trying to work out the dimensions of the box.
Okay, good. That is another way of doing it. Yes, good. So different approaches are being employed by different people. So that is a good sign. That's how a student will start working, I think.
Yes.
I think let me start discussion.
Yes, sir.
So the first method I call it as spatial reasoning. You are not doing any calculation. You are just trying to reason by looking at the pictures or mental picture and trying to see. This is a box, and this is a height x. So height, if you, of course, the volume depends on x. That is the sphere you cut. Now, if you increase the height by 1, how much the volume decrease by? If this is increased by 1, then this side will decrease by 1 and this side will decrease by 1. So this side will decrease by 2. Right? So that is the first step of thinking. If I increase the height by 1, okay, this side will decrease by 2. So if it decreases by 2, what is the ratio that is coming? So the ratio is coming 1:2. That is the ratio of the 2 that will be there. If there is an increase, there is a decrease. So here is normally a cube will have a bigger volume than a cuboid. That is well known, common observation. So now if I this ratio increasing the height by 1 will decrease the length by 2. So the ratio of the height to the length is 1/2. So if you look at the total ratio, right, total length of the side is equal to A. For example, let us take it as 20 or 10, whatever it is. So you can divide the length into breadth in the ratio 1:2. If you divide that, you get the value as 6.66. But this is both sides you have to remove it. So when you remove it, the length of x should be 3.333. That is the corner to be removed to get the maximum volume. So that is a purely spatial reasoning by without doing any kind of calculation, by observing. If I increase the height, I decrease the side. So total side is given to me, so I can find out the proportion of the two, 1:2, what is the best possible. So that is, let us look at another one. So one can use a spreadsheet idea. One can go to Excel or a spreadsheet of GeoGebra to see when do you get the maximum volume. So here is something which is very interesting happening. So let me open that GeoGebra module. So here is the GeoGebra. I think I don't need, there is no graph and there is no algebra. Let me not, I think I don't need that also, but here is the something that I need. Is everybody able to see the spreadsheet part?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's visible. Yeah.
So here is x. As some of you are trying to calculate, here I don't have to do the calculation. GeoGebra does the calculation for me. If x is equal to 1, this is a volume. If x is equal to 2, this is a volume. 3, this is a volume. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I have taken a sheet of size 10 only, so that not for any reason, just taken 10 for this particular GeoGebra. So you see the volume for 1 it is 169, 2 it is 243. It starts increasing, and after 3 when I go to 4 it starts decreasing. So the value of the volume increases as I increase the value of x up to 3, and after 3 it stops decreasing. So that means what? That at least gives me a hint that the maximum volume should come between 3 and 4. The maximum volume should come between 3 and 4. That is just pure working systematically. Now let me work it out using the spreadsheet again between 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, 6 and so on up to 4. I know the value is in between this. So at 3.1 the value is 240. 3.2 the value is 236, 232, 3.4. So it's decreasing maybe 3.2 and 3.3. Something between 3.2 and 3.3 should happen to give me the maximum volume. and we got that answer as 3.33 from the special, from the pure logical reasoning, looking at decrease and increase 1:2 ratio. So this is how a spreadsheet can be used. One can use spreadsheet to make a plot also of the graph and look for the maximum value. So this is using spreadsheets.
So there's an answer by somebody. Two people have answered a upon 6 would be the value of x. Yeah.
Right. Fine. That's good. That's good. Great. Okay. By the way, let me just point out one thing here. There is something very profound happening here, which normally is missed. See, when you increase the height, right, the volume may increase or decrease. So as we saw in the graph, let me just open that GeoGebra. Oh, that is this thing only. I don't have the graph here, so let me probably open that applet which had the graph in it. Let me just see if I can spot that. Oh, it can't open. Fine. Okay, so there is a mismatch of the links. So let me, maybe I can open it from here itself. Maximum volume, find. In fact, I had opened it recently. I should be, yeah, I think it is there. Save, open, explore. Yeah, I think it should be dot save. Yeah, here it is. Okay, great. So now here is, earlier I had the numeric representation of the problem. So I'm giving you various representations, multi-view of the solutions, multi-possibility. What is it called? There is a, in theories of math education, multi-representation, there's a particular name. I'm forgetting that name. Janaki, do you remember that name?
Sir, we call it a theory of multiple representations only.
Yeah. Now the person who proposed, he gave it a name, something, or it became a name. Anyway, there is a, just by waving hands, you can say this is a solution. You can go a numerical way of giving a solution. There is a graphical way of solution, and then yeah, multi-representation. Janaki, you're right, but multi something. I don't forgetting that name. In the math education theory, it is a very popular. Actually, in teaching and learning, it's a very popular name. I'm forgetting. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let us not bother about it. The names at present. So here, for example, I want to make you aware of the GeoGebra applet. So here I can. So here is the. If I increase or decrease x, so you see the box. So not only the shape of the box is changing, the maximum and the minimum also are changing. Okay. So for 20x, what is the maximum value that we can think of finding? Let us just see if I can move this or can move this. No. So I had to move this. So see the maximum. The maximum volume will happen somewhere at this point. So I'm approximately showing you that x is equal to 3.4. It will be 3.6 actually between this value and this value. So that is the value when it will be. You can change the to 10, and you can also change this to 10. And then you see the maximum will happen at x is equal to 1.7. So this is using GeoGebra, the graphical window. You can try to guess what should be the.
Sir, are you talking about, Shalini, you were saying, is it the variability principle?
No.
Referring to that? Okay.
I have something in my mind which I am not able to answer.
Yeah, I mean, I always refer to these as multiple representations of
Yes.
symbolic, numeric, and graphical. So that's
Right.
how we refer to it.
Spatial, multiple, numerical, graphical, and then
Yes.
mathematical one, analytical one will come to that. So what I wanted to point out was there is something very fantastic happening here, which is often missed. That was visible in the GeoGebra that spreadsheet also. The maximum was between 3 and 4, right? So it maximum happens not at 3, not at 4, but some point in between, and that point is attained, right? So there is something called the intermediate value property for continuous functions, and that is a beautiful example of this. So that if this value is taken, look at the graph, if this value is taken, this value is taken, and I move continuously, if I move continuously from this value to that value, then that value also must be attained at some point. So because the function is continuous, it cannot jump up or jump down or do anything. So that GeoGebra thing assures the intermediate value property. I just wanted to go back. Okay, I think let me not stress too much on this. There is a beautiful theorem of analysis about properties of continuous functions that is being sort of not really applied, but that is being used here anyway. Okay, so let me. So that is a graphical representation, and proving it mathematically. Here is to prove it mathematically. Let me just. There is something interesting proof without using calculus. Purely a algebra proof of finding the maximum. So we need to maximize this function, okay? And realize that it is a cubic function. If it is a cubic function, it must have 3 roots. And the 3 roots, out of the 3 roots, if you can shift, imagine you are able to shift the graph up or down so that the maxima or minima is a turning point, right? So that turning point touches x-axis. Then what are the graph? If the cubic is such that the x-axis is a tangent to the curve, right? Then that point is a double root for the equation, right? So the idea is take that quadratic, take the cubic and shift it by some r. When you add r, you are shifting the graph up or down. If you construct a new function g by shifting it up or down, call it as g of x. And so we want g to be 0 at some point q, so that q is the turning point for it, which is a double point, which is a double root for it. So gx must look like this, right? It is a cubic. One root is the double root, that is q. The other root must be, call it as p. So your cubic g must look like this. And now it is a simple thing, equating this gx equal to fx plus r. Look at this equation and solve it for p and q. So if you do that, that is done here. So once you do that, you get, so I will skip the solving this equation so that I save some time. But you can try to look at the video again and try to pause it and do it. So putting this in the equation, you get solution. You get a quadratic in Q, and the quadratic in Q, we know how to find the roots of a quadratic. So that gives you these 2 values of Q. So this is a purely algebraic way of finding the maxima minima for a cubic without resorting to calculus. Okay. So that gives you a is equal to 1 in the cube, ax square plus ax cube plus bx square plus. So all the values are known. So that gives you 10 by 3, the corner to get the maximum value. So this is a purely algebraic solution, which is normally told to students, but I think this is accessible to even students who do a bit of cubic and quadratic solutions. So 8th or 9th standard students can be, they can be told of this solution. So it's a beautiful solution without involving. And if you find, you will find if you find the quadratic find the derivative and put it equal to 0, you'll get same roots again. Okay, so here is another one, proof, mathematical proof without resorting to calculus as such, which is using AM and GM inequality, arithmetic mean and geometric mean inequality. Using that, we can also solve this problem. As follows: the volume to be maximized is Vx is equal to this. So let us write this as 1 by 4 multiply and divide by 4x. So there are three quantities, 4x, 20 minus 2x, 20 minus 2x. So, the volume, that is apply the arithmetic mean GM inequality, the volume Vx will be less than or equal to 1 by 4 times the 4x into the cube. And once you solve it, that comes out to be Vx is less than or equal to this. And AMGM says it is equality is attained when you have 4x is equal to 20 minus x and 20 by 6, and that is, this gives you again the same value. So this is again a beautiful application of arithmetic mean and geometric mean. So mathematically we have got one algebraic proof, other is AM and GM inequality, and finally the big gun of calculus comes into picture, and that gives you by calculus A by 6, as everybody got. So my aim of bringing this different ways of solving this problem was that we can try to give in a classroom a student multi-representation of the possible solutions, because not everybody will understand every solution. Some students like more geometric solutions, some students like more numerical solutions, some people like more analytical solutions, and so on. But that whenever this is a problem, whenever you see a maxima minima problem, you try to jump onto calculus without bothering whether the functions are differentiable or not, and so on. So try to give your students a flavor of different ways of solving a problem. So multiple representations of solutions is always a very enriching thing for a student point of view. So this is a thing. Let me just probably I have 10 minutes or so. Let me just.
So you have time till whatever time you can take. I mean, we are saying to get till 5:30, but it's up to you.
Oh, it's up to 5:30. So we have
Yes,
enough
yes.
time. No,
Yes.
I thought up to 5. My bio clock is tuned to 1 hour and 30 minutes. Kind
No,
of.
that is up to you entirely, sir.
Okay. So let me see how long I can go and probably spend
Right.
more time in interactions later on.
Sure.
So there are various ways of solving same problem in different ways. Right. So let me go ahead a bit and let me not end the activity here. Let me go slightly beyond. How can I extend this activity? So a bit further. So let me, by the way, I did not say that when we looked at that Polyminos problem, you can go in that line straight away in a different route altogether. You can have a polynomials of order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and many interesting problems come up. So you can go into that direction also. But I didn't go, of course, because my aim was different. So I'm going to extend my problem in a slightly different way. So one can ask, is there a relation between the side A of the original paper and the side of the square cut, right? Obviously, A by x was equal to A by 6. So that is already there. So there is a, I don't know what I wanted to show here. It doesn't open anyway, so it doesn't matter. Right. So that is a relation. You can try to, this itself is a problem. You can tackle it before solving by different ways. Try to guess what is the relation and then verify it. So that is, okay. So here is the doubling problems I wanted to. So given a box cube constructed, find a cube with double the surface area and the volume. So I think this will need a bit of time. You can use all your formulas and everything that you want to use. So you are given a cube of side A. So it's you know what is the surface area of it, and you know what is the volume of it. You know the formulas for it, and you want to find out what should be the side of the cube, so that one, it has the double area, and another cube which has the double volume. I'm not saying that the same cube should have the double area and the same as there are two different problems. So given a cube of side A, find a cube, what should be the side, what should be the length of the side of the new cube so that its surface area is double. One problem. Second problem, what should be the side so that the volume is double. Right? Yeah. Okay. So let me give you probably some time to think about this problem and try to solve this problem. So like in KBC says, expert, your time has come. So moderator, Junaki, your time has come to look at the chat box.
Yes, I am looking at it.
Okay, fine.
Sir, some of them have raised their hand. I can see that.
Okay, they can talk. They can talk if they want to talk. We can allow talking. It's okay.
Yes, yes, yes. You can unmute one by one. Who has raised their hand? Can you name some of them? One of them?
Aradhana and Neha.
So, Aradhana, you could ask your question.
I can't see the person who is asking the question. So
Please unmute and ask the question. Root 2 for doubling. Somebody has responded. Just a minute.
good.
Root 2
This
A
is
for doubling surface area.
doubling the surface area, root 2 times
A. Yeah.
the original. Right. Good.
Right, right. And
Good,
Mansi said new side should be A upon root 2.
Okay. Good.
And Deepa says square root 2 times A.
So the surface area problem, some of the responses have come.
Yeah. This for surface area, yes.
Janaki, I'm not able to see the video view. What I'm missing?
Sorry, you are not able to see.
The participants or their chat or anything? I have to stop
Sir,
sharing.
it would be in the Google only. If you open the Google Chrome,
Yeah.
the white one, you would
This
have
one?
to switch the tab.
Switch the tab. That's right. This is Meet Google.com. That is the one.
In the GeoGebra one only. I think the Meet one would be open in the other one.
हाँ So the tab से दूसरा tab देखना होगा ऊपर आपको ना.
Yes.
GeoGebra.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes,
Yes.
There is a multitasking is a problem.
yes.
Yes.
Doing it. Yes. Okay. So somebody wanted to ask a question. You can raise and sure.
For volume, Samal says cube root of 2.
Yeah. Volume is
A times cube root 2.
cube root 2. That's great. Good, good. So there is a progress. So 3 people have said for the doubling the square, that is square root of 2. And for cube, one answer has come, that cube root of 2 times the original side length. Anybody else? Okay. Cube root of 2, one more person has put. So 2 cube root of 2, right. So normally we take correct responses as the one probably to go ahead. So because this problem is purely a skill based problem, if you know the formula of the formula how to compute what is the surface area, if you know how to compute the volume, and these are cuboids, so there is not much of a problem. Now the problem starts here. That is what the cube root of 2 and so on. So the problem is, so what is the problem? Can somebody tell me what is the problem? So in mathematics, it's not only finding the answers to the problems is important, it is finding a problem is also a way of understanding mathematics. So what will be the next problem? You said if I give you that the original square had side 10, then the if the original box cube had side 10 and the new box should have side as square root of 2 times 10 for doubling. So what is the answer if I don't want to write square root 2? Meena Bansal, can you tell me what is the answer, Meena? Can you tell me the answer in decimals if you like? Meena, are you there?
14.
Or Deepa? Can Deepa answer? Praveen?
Sir, can you repeat the question? Sir, can you repeat the question?
The question is the new cube should have the side as square root 2 times a.
For doubling the surface area, no?
That's right. If a
Yes,
is
sir.
equal, if a is equal to 10, tell me
Okay.
the numerical answer.
Sir, in the chat box.
For
we
the
can
new
see
cube,
the
no?
answer.
That's a root 2. So that is a into root 2 1.4. So 14 point, yes, 14.14.
Good.
Approx, yes, sir.
So that very good. So
Deepa and Mukta have given, and many others have given the same answer, 14.14.
right. So now let me ask somebody who gave the answer for cube root. I can't see the chat box. Cube root of 2, Aradhana. Aradhana is there? Is Aradhana there? No. In the chat box, she has put cube root of 2 times. So I thought she'll be happy to respond back, say something more. Okay, so let us put it a question again. If a is equal to 10, what is the numerical answer for the cube? Is my question clear to everybody? Say yes in the chat box, then I know I am interacting.
I get an answer 12.6 by Shalini.
So how do you get 12.6?
12.59, yeah.
Yeah, so how do you get 12.59? Anybody can explain? So
Multiplying the cube root of 2 by 10.
Good. So what is the cube root of 2?
So 1.259.
And that is Anishka, right?
Yes, sir.
Anishka, how did you get the cube root of 2?
Sir, this too I googled, but yes.
Oh, very good. So Google, how does Google know the answer to this question? So the question comes, how does the Google know the answer? We don't know. We have to ask Google, and Google knows the answer. Some of you may be having a calculator and you can punch in x is equal to 2. There is a cube root symbol. You punch that and you get the answer. Have you ever wondered how do you get? For square root, I don't have to go to Google. I was told in my school days how to find the square root of 2 by long division method. Yes,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Does that method
Yes.
work? Does that method work for cube root?
No, sir. Cube
No.
roots are usually found by prime factorization only or estimation something.
Some estimation is required. Very good. So that shows the estimation of importance of estimates. How do you estimate? How do you estimate something which is like a to the power 1 by 3 by something? So estimation, actually, the real life, we never find exact things. I'm saying something off the head, but this is true. In real life, we never find exact things. We only find estimates, better and better estimates. We only try to achieve better and better things, better approximations for something, for our dreams, for our job, for our answers. So, and unfortunately, approximations and estimations are not taught properly in our school. That is
Yes, sir. True.
unfortunate thing. But anyway, so let me come back to my question, the question that I wanted to ask. So this raises the question, dimensions, and then so cube root of n. How do I find? So what is cube root of n? The cube root of a number n, which is a positive number, is a number b, which is again positive. Say that b raised to power 3 is equal to n. So this equation has to be satisfied. B to the power 3 is equal to n. Right? Now this is a big theorem.
Log can we use? Log?
Oh, you can use log if you want to use log, but log is a substitute, a primitive substitute for calculators, I can call it. Okay? Because, okay, since you have brought out this name log, can you tell me what is the log? Log is a function, right? Log of,
Yes, sir. Yes.
so if it is a function, and if you are a student of 10th or 11th or a teacher, if it's a function, what is the domain and range of this function? I can ask a question. And for that, you have to know what is the definition of log x.
Yes, sir.
What is the definition of log x? You cannot define log x without doing a lot of work. This is what is called a transcendental function. The definition of transcendental functions like log x, exponential x, sin x, trigonometric functions, they are all very difficult to define. They cannot be defined like x cube, x to the power 10, a polynomial function, a rational function. My algebraic functions can never give you, by doing algebra alone, what are called transcendental. Anyway, let me not go into that. But this is a very complicated function, b to the power 3 equal to n. This is a cubic function. We all do it in our calculus courses very happily and nicely. But at present, my aim is not to understand this function, but how to use this function. So aim is, given a number n, I want to find b, say that b cube is equal to n. So that is a problem of finding the cube root, right? So to do that, Newton gave a very beautiful method of finding this. That is an iterative process.
Newton Raphson.
This is as follows. Start with any guess x1 for the cube root. For example, you want cube root of 2. So 2 is the number whose cube root you are looking at. N is equal to 2, and you are looking at b. Say that b raised to power 3 is equal to 2. Now make a guess. This is something between probably 1 and 2. Okay, the value, because 2 cube is much larger, 1 cube is 1. So the answer should be somewhere in between. So start with a guess. You can start with a guess of 1, okay, if you like. And given the starting point, iteratively define xk plus 1. So this is, given x1, you can define x2. Given x2, you can define x3. So xk plus 1 can be defined in terms of xk by this formula. So this is an iterative process given by Newton. It's called Newton's sequence. So put x1 in this, you'll get x2. Put x2 here, you'll get x3. x1, x2, x3 will be a sequence of numbers which will give you better and better approximations for the number n. I just took n equal to 36, just for the sake of it. So this is a Newton method. Basically, this is a method for finding zeros of functions. So this equation you can write as bq minus n is equal to 0. Okay, and bq minus n is equal to 0. You are looking at a b to b. So this is true. So b is a 0 of that function, which is bq minus n. Locating zeros of functions by Newton method, there is one way of approximations. This can do it for any n. Okay, and this is the cube root. I have done it, this formula only for the cube root. You can change it to any root, 4th root, 5th root, 6th root, and so on. Accordingly, formulas will change, but essentially it remains something like this. Okay? So somebody would like to, would somebody like to verify this? Maybe I think you can do it later on. Because
Correct, correct. Are you talking about the recursive relation?
yeah, that is a recursive relation basically. Relation is correct. I'm saying if you take it x1 equal to 1 and put it in the GeoGebra thing, where this formula is xk plus 1. So GeoGebra can be very nicely done with spreadsheet, giving the value of x plus 1 for k equal to 1 to 1000 probably. You will see how good an approximation you get for the cube root. You can do it for square root, any root you can do it. And this is the recursive formula that is put into most of the calculators, computers. Enter this, Google quickly takes out this formula, puts the value, takes the answer, and gives you the answer. So the beauty of Google lies in quickly doing these calculations at the fraction of a second. That is the beauty of Google. But the actual beauty of cube root is that of Newton. Right. Anybody has a question now? We can, otherwise I will go to something next.
So Sujit says that using derivatives, better approximation can be done.
Well, I didn't want to go into derivative and tangent line approximations. There are another ways of approximating things. Using tangent line approximations, you can use quadratic approximations. You can actually, there is a whole subject. Those of you who go on to doing masters in mathematics, they'll come across a topic called numerical techniques or numerical methods, where you will learn many methods of doing these approximations. And then comparing which method is better, when, and so on. That whole is a new subject, is a new topic. So this is the beginning of a new topic in advanced mathematics called approximations, numerical approximations or numerical techniques. It goes by the various names, and these are all very important things in data analysis. Nowadays, data mining, data analysis, anything doing with data is a big thing. I think yesterday you also had a talk on data, understanding what is data. So numerical analysis is an important aspect of data analysis. So you can do it because that is a different thing. I didn't want to go it. But my point of bringing in is this, at least we can tell a iterative method of finding any root for a positive number by using sequences only, which is amenable to school students of standard 8, 9 without any calculus. Of course, the background is calculus. Newton method deals with the functions, derivatives, and some calculations, but we need not tell the student. At least we can give how mathematics is used in machines to calculate things. So anybody else has a remark, question, or something?
Sir, when you use suppose the CAS command of GeoGebra,
Which command?
a CAS command in GeoGebra, the solve command, if you say solve x cube minus 2 is equal to 0 for solve for x,
Right.
it's giving that one roughly 1.26.
Okay.
That also must be using this, obviously, the approximation technique.
Yeah. Everything. See, as or anything that requires the calculations has to use one of the approximation techniques, be it GeoGebra, be it Excel, be it calculators, be it Sage or any software. Any one of them will do some kind of approximation, and depending on how many decimal places you want, choose appropriately different way of approximation. There are actually the whole subject of research, numerical methods of finding how quickly you can find numerical approximations, what are the best methods, and so on. And these are really heavy paid jobs in banking and economics and so on. So I'm promoting why you should be doing mathematics.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead. Anything else you want me to comment upon or say something?
If participants have any other queries on this, they can put in the chat as of now.
On this, till now, whatever in the past, whatever we have done, based on the past, whatever you want to ask.
Yes.
Or better will be immediate past. Those who know probability theory, stochastic processes will know something called Markov chains, where the next stage is described by the previous immediate history.
Yes.
So your question should be Markovian,
Yeah.
possibly where you ask the question in the immediate past only, so that I don't have to recall too many things. But it's okay. Ask questions. The whole aim of Janaki organizing this session is that you are able to throw questions on me. I am able to answer some of them and learn from your questions that these are the doubts you have. Anybody has something?
No, not yet, sir.
Let me see if I have another extension. I don't know what is that. What did you think of? Yeah, I think this is only extensions you can do. I did everything with the square sheet of paper. You can try to do it everything with a rectangular piece of paper. A rectangular piece of paper, you can construct a paper box. How much is the wasted thing, and what is the best possible volume? What should be the relation between the length, breadth, and height, and so on. You can do it with those kind of things. The whole activity that we have done till now with the square box can be repeated with the rectangular box. Yeah. So I think I think this is the right time to stop, because for the cone will require another 1 hour probably or so, which I don't want to go into. I had in mind doing some similar problems for the other packing material that was used in the initial sheet, that was a paper cone. How do you make a paper cone with a hand? That is a very interesting phenomena. Probably, I think we can spend some time. Everybody try to make a paper cone from a paper sheet and show me. I think at least I can put you on to the new thing. Before doing any mathematics, I'll tell you what mathematics you can do. So what I want you to do is take a sheet of paper, whatever you have handy with you, make a paper cone, which was used in the beginning of the vendor to put those peanuts in. So how do you make it? He every day makes probably 100 or 200 paper cones every day, and puts them in this in his shop, takes one by one and fills. And so can you take a sheet of paper and make a paper cone and show me? Make a paper cone.
Yes, you can probably again, yeah.
Yes, good. Aradhana has made a paper cone. Good, very good, very good. Looks nice. I think you can put lot of peanuts in it. Yes, Janaki has also done a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sure, sure. I would like to see some more pictures before.
Let's have more paper cones.
Yes, more paper cones around. Make a paper cone with any paper at hand. Mansi, yes, you have a very blackish paper cone. Good, no problem. Yes. Now, she is making a color conscious, she is making a yellow paper cone now. So, Mr. Somveer Chaudhary also made the paper cone. Good. Blue one by Shalini. I think all of you are able to make a paper cone and you can sell peanuts. No problem. Okay. So let me now say something here. Two things about the paper cones that you have made. Mansi, keep your video on. Keep your paper cone on so that everybody can see it. Somebody, yes, Mansi, can you make your paper cone and show it to everybody? Look at, everybody look at Mansi's paper cone. Now, Mansi, so this is a paper cone which can hold peanuts for 10 rupees. Now somebody comes and says, I want peanuts for 20 rupees. How will you enlarge the volume of this cone?
The paper. First of all, I have to take a bigger paper. This paper would. I'm so sorry.
Right. Yes. So
From
next
this
time,
paper, I won't be able to do that.
you can do that from the same piece of paper. Actually, when you go to a shop where such things are made and sold by the chap, you know what he does? If I share my video, probably.
So if you double the height, then you will get double size.
I don't want to, same paper, I want to increase the volume. You see, that is a beauty. Yes.
Sir, unfold, don't tight the fold, just make it little bit loose, you will get a bigger cone. That's what I did just now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Suluchi Tripathi got the idea that don't make that bottom too tight kind of thing, make it a loose, put your hand inside the cone and loosen it a bit.
Less overlapping.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. So
Very
make
less
overlapping,
overlapping and it will increase the volume.
Yes, you increase the volume. You see, you are essentially. So we ask the kids to do this. You will ask the kids, "What are you doing?" So what is
I
the
made a smaller cone.
smaller cone and a bigger cone by putting a hand and enlarging it?
Enlarging it.
What is the
Enlarging
mathematics? What is the mathematics you are doing? What are you enlarging? So here comes the mathematics now.
So surface area is being increased by surface.
Yeah, but what is the characteristic of the cone that you are changing so that surface area increases?
Sir, diameter.
The diameter, sir, the diameter.
Radius increased.
Yeah.
The
So,
radius.
yeah, essentially now you will come to what are the characteristics of a cone. There is a height, there is a slant height, and if it is a circular cone, there is a radius at the top. There is a radius at the top. And when you are putting a hand
Radius is increased.
radius is increased. So characteristic radius is being increased. So to increase the surface area, to increase the volume. You see, now you're bringing in mathematics into very simple object called a cone, right? So you can do that. And now your paper cone looks like it has a corner sticking out, right? Your cone does not look like a ice cream cone. So what is the difference between your cone and the ice cream cone?
Circular base is not there.
Yes. So those are called circular cones. These are not circular cones. So to make a circular cone from a piece of paper, what you have to do? So that is
Increase
my
the
now just think,
Take
Everybody,
a sector of the circle and fold. Sector
which
of the
sector?
circle we create.
Take
Which
a
circle?
triangular sheet of the paper.
Yeah,
I just folded the top of the paper.
yes. If you have to start with what kind of paper? Not a
Yeah.
rectangular, not a sphere. What kind of a paper you should start with if you want a circular top?
Triangular paper.
No,
One corner fold.
no. From a
Circular.
yes, you should have a circular sheet of paper. Then only you can make a cone
Yes.
which is
That one, yeah.
circular. You see,
Oh.
now you are bringing from rectangle to circle, another geometric object you are bringing in. Now, how do you make, if you take a circular sheet of paper, how do you make a cone out of it? What you have to do?
Make a
Sector.
cut.
We have to cut a sector. Sector of the circle.
Yes, you have to cut out
One
a sector of the circle
sector of the circle. Then
and
we fold
then
it.
probably stick the two,
Corners.
stick the one thing, for the sector, the two radius, if you join, you will get a cone. Okay,
Yes.
and now you can easily see, depending on the angle of the sector, keep the radius fixed. The paper is fixed now. We want to find out the maximum volume for the cone. So now the volume of the cone, the radius is fixed, depends on how much sector that you cut. If you cut out a very small sector to a very big sector, the volume will change, and somewhere in between that will give you the best possible volume, the maximum volume. So maximum minimum problems for cones can be taken there. You can use GeoGebra, you can use calculus, and many interesting things can be done. So I think, Janaki,
Yes,
let
sir.
me stop here with my mathematical talks.
Yes.
And there are about 8 to 10 minutes. If anybody has any question to ask.
Sure.
So basically, let me wind it up. What I have tried to show is not mathematics, probably, not much of mathematics, but some new mathematics you might have also learned today. But the whole aim of transacting, how a idea, simple idea can be transacted with a student in a classroom in a way there they find it interesting, they find it enriching, and at the same time it connects with ideas of higher mathematics, so that when they go on to do higher mathematics, they are able to realize, yes, we did something that in our earlier workshops. So questions, please.
If Mansi wants, those we can share with you. She wants details of GeoGebra workshops. So,
For the earlier workshops? Okay. So let me do one thing. Taki has the email of all of you,
yes.
right? So I'll be sharing the links of all the GeoGebra workshops, the video recordings. They're all available on YouTube now. For all the 9 workshops, 3 sessions each. So you'll find around 30 recorded sessions on GeoGebra in English, Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, Kannada, Tamil, Hindi. Did I miss, Janaki, anything? I don't know.
No, sir.
Malayalam was there, sir.
Yeah, so in all 9 different languages, these workshops were conducted, and all the recordings are available so that teachers can look at the recordings, learn GeoGebra, and benefit from them in their own regional languages. So I will share the links with Janaki, and she will pass it on to all the participants. Probably the e-proceedings of the conference we are preparing, and hopefully within a week, e-proceedings should be available with all the links of the lectures as well as the video sessions of the workshops. Probably will share that, she will share that PDF with you with all the links. So you'll have the data at one place, everything.
Yes, sir. That should be.
Anybody else has a doubt, question, suggestion, comment, criticism?
There's a lot of appreciation for you and for the session.
Well, thank you all for enjoying it, but I'm a bit disappointed that you didn't ask many questions. Because
Tina says, yeah. Please ask, Tina.
for me, the learning experience is from your questions.
So Veena wants to ask, but Veena, we can't hear you. We are unable to hear you. I think she's trying to say something, but would you like to put it in chat, or maybe some audio problem at her end? So
Okay.
I think she wanted to ask something about the phone problem. Am I right, Veena? Oh, I think there's an audio problem.
Can you pinpoint Veena in the chat box and send a mail only to her? Yeah. Again, Veena, she's showing a paper. I can't see that. What is written on that?
We are not able to hear you.
Ask her to unmute herself. She might not have unmuted her.
Please unmute. No, she's on. Can you unmute yourself, Veena? Check if you are on.
Ma'am, could you please mute yourself and then unmute? Sometimes this also happens.
Okay.
Just mute yourself and then unmute it again.
Ma'am is saying that she's unmuted only.
Oh.
It's okay. There might be some network issues.
I see. She's trying to show something. Is she on a background? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
How do I mail her? Let me see. She's saying next time.
Yeah,
or
you can email me your question. Please email me your question and doubt so that next time probably, or I can respond back.
She said sure. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I told her you can write it and maybe it's a long one.
Just close the session.
Yes,
Ma'am, there is one more question in the chat box.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is that?
Please.
So would you please share a bit more on the iteration process? How did you get that equation?
Let me say one thing that now I think the word Google was used today. So go to Google and finding zeros of functions by Newton method. Finding zeros of functions by Newton method, and you will get links, uncountable links for that. Pick up whichever you like and do it, and try to understand.
Yes, that would.
I think that is the best thing, but best source I can give you at present.
Right. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then I would please join me in thanking Professor Rana for such a, I don't want to use these cliched words, wonderful, but it is truly engaging in every sense of the word. A lot of echo coming, sorry. So basically this session very beautifully illustrated that one single problem can lead to so much of mathematics. So when we looked at the open box problem, we experienced it in the tactile way when we folded the paper and made the box, and we drew pictures of the sheet of paper, so that was pictorial. And in GeoGebra applet we saw how to open and close it. We experience the same problem in the symbolic way using algebraic expressions, in the numeric way on the spreadsheet, in the graphical way when we saw the cubic function. So essentially what Sir was trying to say, and I do use this term multiple embodiments or multiple representations. I think that's what Zoltan Dien's variability principle says, that to understand a concept, you need to experience the concept in multiple forms. So one, he talked about the perceptual variability of a concept, and the other was the mathematical variability. So both were experienced, and Sir, thank you so much. One of the important things which is not at all even dealt with in school level is that, what about these beautiful non-calculus proofs? Like you showed us that algebraically how we can solve the problem, and how to find the square root or cube root or whatever. So these things need to be, I think teacher training programs and workshops should focus on these aspects, because calculus children do only from grade 11. So before grade 11, a lot of the interesting and exciting mathematics is not accessible to them, because it is thought that you can only approach them using calculus. So these non-calculus proofs should certainly be brought in, and the idea of revisiting a single problem at multiple stages through the school is also going to help students consolidate these mathematical concepts in their mind. And again, I would like to bring the content to processes thing, which the NCF talks about. And it's such a beautiful way to do it. So thank you so much, sir, that you actually brought it alive for us, this content to processes. And we engage in so many processes of learning mathematics. We visualized, we generalized, we did approximation and estimation. So all these things was really beautiful. So thank you so much, and let us give him our appreciation and thanks. And Ankita, I think Nikita, you have something for sir?
Yes, ma'am. Ankita, would you please begin? And Balpreet as well.
So we would like to present our appreciation card for you. On behalf of the Department of Elementary Education, D.D. Shriram College for Women, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to you for taking time from your busy schedule to conduct a session on from 2D to 3D, making boxes and cones. The experiences you shared and the possibilities you showed us through your session have really enriched the discourse of the theme of the workshop. We are sure that the teachers, teacher educators, educationists, and student teachers who are participating in the workshop are greatly enriched by your input, and we hope that you had an engaging experience as well. Thank you once again for being a part of this workshop and making it meaningful experience for everyone. We look forward to more such interactions with you in future.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks to all the participants for your very active participation. I think this is truly a workshop in the online mode. And tomorrow we have another very exciting session by Dr. Shailesh Shirali. I think sir is in the audience, if I'm not mistaken. So hello, sir. And we look forward to welcoming you tomorrow, if you are still there. And so I guess, hello, sir. And so thank you, and we will see you tomorrow. And well, sir, Dr. Shirali, do you have any homework for the participants, prior work to be done before then? No, it's absolutely fine.
No, not really. Not really.
I think we can go back and relax today. And tomorrow we'll join at 3:30 again. So thank you very much. And
thank you all, and take care. Health and nearby everybody.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Great. May I request the organizing team to please stay back? Yeah, thank you.
Ankita, please stop the recording as well.